Love, light, peace, and abundance, everyone. We are back. I am Queen Essence, aka Goddess Robin. Um, and this is Poetry Unraveled. I guess I should take my glasses off. And this is Poetry Unraveled. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. If you are returning, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. Today is Friday, and I know my regularly scheduled program is every Thursday at 8 o'clock. However, I am traveling, and it was not a quiet situation for me to be able to record. And then I had some signal difficulty. So I am willing that in this particular recording, the signal behaves and cooperates with us today so that it flows smoothly. However, it will be exactly what it's supposed to be. I trust that. Um, okay, so we are going to be in flow today, similar to last week, how I um, had an idea in mind and then I just allowed the divine to flow to share what was most needed in that space that we were cultivating together. So, if you haven't noticed already, today's topic is the power of surrender and the poetry of flow. So, I'm going to do my best to speak to those principles, to those energies, and it is my intention that it reaches those that it will best serve at the time that you need it most. So, before we dive into the unraveling today, let's take a moment and let's breathe together to center ourselves in this space where all is divinely guided and aligned. And in this moment, I surrender, right? I have to surrender first and foremost because I had a list of some things that I wanted to discuss. However, the divine alignment has placed me in a position where I'm not able to find them. So that's why I shared that we're going to go with the divine flow because it's clear that I don't need to have it all planned out the way that my Virgo brain was looking to plan it out. So I trust that what I am needed to say and will be said, and I trust what flows through my heart to reach yours, right? Which is the um, overall intention of these podcast episodes, which is to speak from my heart to touch and resonate and ignite, initiate something in your heart, right? So, like I shared, I am traveling. Excuse me. I have my phone connected, charging, and we're having a little difficulty. Okay, here we go. We're back. So yes, as I stated, I am traveling. And this trip has had multiple layers, multiple layers to it, all of which has been very beautiful. And I'm very much grateful and appreciative of the divine orchestration of everything, right? And what stands out to me is the power of surrender, right? The power of surrender. And I said the poetry of flow, the beauty of flow, the necessity of flow. It's so important for us to realize that we are, in fact, co creating our reality hand in hand with spirit, the Most High, your spirit team, your ancestors, the universe, whomever you identify. Remember, we are all inclusive over here. So, whatever you identify, we are co creating our reality, which speaks to the power of our thoughts, the power of our intentions, um, aligned actions, resonating, being in flow, right? There is a part where we have to surrender to the divine flow. We have to surrender to the co-creation part. There are valuable and important aspects of where we need to be clear on what it is that we want, what it is that we're pursuing, what it is that we would like to manifest and co-create in our reality. However, there's also a part where we have to surrender to the unknown parts, right? And not only to the unknown parts, however, we have to surrender to the how. When we give so much power to how a thing is going to happen, we can emit frequencies that will repel what it is that we are calling in, or that which we want our reality to look like. So understanding that there's no cap on how it can take place. However, being grounded and rooted in the fact that it will take place is where the flow state is birthed, right? In addition to having faith and trust that you are being divinely guided, right? You are protected, you are watched over, you are seen, you are accompanied by those that you honor and you acknowledge and you respect in the spirit realm. And because of that truth, everything that happens is happening for a reason, right? It's supposed to happen that way, because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't be happening that way. Because again, if we trust, or since we trust that we are divinely, spiritually, energetically protected, then that means that if it wasn't supposed to take place, then those that are our protectors, those that are guiding us, those that are observing and watching us and walking with us would have stopped it, would have prevented it, would have altered it, right? So there comes a space where we reach where we have to operate in faith, and we have to operate in trust. 7:14 on the clock. We have to operate in faith and trust that everything happened the way that it was supposed to happen. And when we operate from that base, we really step into a power that I think we don't always recognize is available to us. When we operate in this space, we release ourselves from judgment, meaning that we don't really care what anybody else has to say or think about what it is that we're doing and how we choose to navigate on our own journey. We make decisions that are in best alignment with us because we trust our divine path, right? However, there's another element to it, to where we release self-judgment as well. You know, I had an experience since being here where it felt like it was crazy. I'm gonna just keep it a stack. It unfolded in a way that when it was done, I was just like, I don't even understand. I don't even understand. I don't understand. And I felt like it was a situation where I wasn't in control. Like I had allowed myself to be so free that I was just like out here willy nilly. However, once I sat with it and I processed it, well, let me before that. And as a result of me feeling like I was out here just, free, all willy nilly, I was embarrassed, right? I was embarrassed as a result of the aftermath of the decisions that I had made. And that was an experience that I haven't had in quite some time. Like legit, I'm very much like, I do what resonates with me, and I'm not like ashamed or embarrassed, or, I don't really care what anybody else has to think or say about it. And I don't carry any guilt or regret because I did what I wanted to do in the moment based on the energy flow, what resonated with me at the level of awareness that I was at. So for me to look back on something after having gained more insight and understanding and maturity and growth, right? It always seemed counterproductive to me, because had I known better, I would have did better. However, I made the decisions based on the level of understanding that I was working with at that time. And I did what resonated and what felt best. So to have the experience where in this situation where I was feeling embarrassed, I had to sit with that, right? And then me sitting with the experience and really looking at it and tapping in with my spirit team, I realized that there was divinity in the chaos, right? There was divinity taking place that was unfolding, right? And before I get deeper into that, because again, like I'm sharing my experience. However, I would like for you to explore on your own, where in your life are you being called to let go of control and trust the flow, right? And what would it feel like to let your life become poetry in motion, right? And we're going to get more into that. However, I just want you to have that in your mind so that when I come back around, we're together, okay? So I had to sit with it. And in me sitting with it and speaking with my spirit team, I understood that um, there was a process that I needed to go through, right? There was a process that I needed to go through in order to release some energies that were connected to an old version of myself, an old timeline. And it needed to happen in a way that it would expedite the releasing of that energy. So hence the divine chaos, right? And once my spirit team and I dialogued about it, and I was able to see, right? I was able to see where it came from. I was able to see the reasoning behind my actions that initially, caused me embarrassment. And it reminded me of something that I already knew, right? That we don't have the right to judge ourselves. We don't have the right to judge anybody. However, we most certainly don't have the right to judge ourselves because we are constantly evolving and growing and coming more into the awareness of who we are. And because we don't have the full memory of past lifetimes and or the full conscious awareness of how we've been impacted or infected or affected by the experiences of this lifetime, then giving ourselves grace and compassion would be the most wise decision um, as we grow and come into the conscious awareness, right? And because I chose to hold space for myself, it allowed for me to be able to get to the point where I received the clarity. I got to the point of clarity as to what was taking place. However, if I stayed in embarrassment and shame and, beating myself up and judging myself, I would have never gotten to that point. It is because I surrendered to what took place and trusted that everything happens by divine orchestration. And I kept saying to myself, it was allowed to happen. It was permitted to take place. So there has to be a divine reason why. And I may need to be patient to be able to come into the awareness of it. However, that alone, that truth alone is what allowed for me to be free and get to the point where the clarity and the understanding was received. And as a result, I'm 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 sharper, right? Like in my head, I just had so many adjectives come through, but I'm more in tune with my higher self. I'm more connected to my higher self. I am more aware of the way that the divine works, right? Because oftentimes when we feel like chaos is happening, we feel like something is wrong or something is missing or we messed something up. But in actuality, nah, like everything serves the most high. Everything serves the higher realm. So when we look for the positive, when we look for Allah, God, Yahweh, Yahweh, Jah, Buddha, whoever it is and what's taking place, we will most certainly find them, find it, find him, find her, because of the universal interwoven universal principles and laws that govern everything, right? So the aspect of flowing like poetry is the aspect of being in the flow state and allowing ourselves to be open to live and experience and grow freely, right? My grandmother has this plant, right, where I guess it's a spider plant. I'm not sure the name of it. However, it's grown so much that it has so many limbs, right? It is free to grow wild, right? Like it's free to grow and flourish without any restriction. However, with the restrictions, it will shape itself, it will limit itself to the boundaries that it's being placed in. However, when there is no restrictions, it'll just grow. It'll just grow wild. That same principle is how we are. It is wise for us to refrain from placing ourselves in restrictive thought processes, in restrictive boxes, in restrictive um, or limitations, right? We are actually limitless because we are connected to the limitless source of it all. And when we recognize that, we're able to operate in flow. And I think about a poetic flow, a flow of poetry. Because for myself, when I write, I write from divine inspiration, right? Like I write from the energy from my heart space. I write from the energy of wanting to assist, to uplift, to plant seeds, to amplify love, right? And positive, high vibrational energy. And when I channel that energy, the words just flow. And oftentimes I'll write and then I'll put it down, right? And then I'll go back to it days later, weeks later, months later, and I'll read it as though it was the first time ever seeing it. And I would be in so much awe of what was expressed, right? Like the healing that's available in it, the power that is being emitted, and the fact that I was telling my story at a level that I wasn't even aware that I was telling my story. It's almost like I'll write before I get to that point of fully integrating and grounding what I'm writing. And then when I go back and read it, and I'm like, wow, like I was really writing my story as I was living it. And now I can look back on it and see it at a magnitude that's from a higher perspective because I've grown, I've evolved since the time that I first wrote it. And from my experience, that same rhythm and flow takes place in our own development, right? In essence, that is part of my development, right? We are growing and evolving and expanding. However, because we don't see ourselves, we're not our own mirror, then sometimes we can miss it, right? We can miss the evolution, the elevation that's taking place, which is why it's important to surrender, to not judge, because when we're in the flow state and we're open to what is taking place, then different mirrors will show us, right? Different mirrors and people or situations or circumstances or blessings or rewards will show us a reflection of ourselves. However, we have to be able to see with a clear lens, right? Like if we wrapped up in guilt and blame and shame and embarrassment, then the lens is going to be murky, right? Like it's going to be all blurry. It's like, when I put my glasses on and I don't clean my lenses, it's like, child, I can't see nothing. I might as well not even wear the glasses. However, when we release all of those things, right, then we're able to see clearly and we're able to see the divinity in every interaction, in every experience, in every encounter, which allows for us to see the beautiful reflection of ourselves and the growth that is actually taking place in us expanding and evolving and being who we are, right? So hopefully, willfully, that resonates with you and that you've been applying this to the question, of where in your life are you being called to let go of, control, and trust the flow, right? Where are you being called to let go, to tighten the rein, right? I had an experience where I was speaking with someone, and in the conversation, I was expressing what was resonating with me. And the idea that resonated for me to share was that they were looking to learn in a specific way, right? However, because this is a divine orchestrated plan, it was happening the way that it was best for them to receive so that they can learn what they need to learn and then ground the knowledge. However, they had in their mind a specific way that they wanted to take place. So because that's the way that they had it in mind, anything outside of that was subconsciously being rejected, and labels of it being hard and it being more challenging and it being more than what it had to be were being applied to it. As a result of our conversation, and the openness that was there, in receiving what it was that was flowing through me, it allowed for a new perspective to be birthed, right? And a new opening and channel to direct energy to further evolve and grow and elevate and be successful in what is already being successful that they are working on co-creating in their life. And that's an example of like releasing control, right? Trying to control the way that you learn, the path of how you evolve. Like, we are co-creating. However, ultimately this is not our plan though, right? Like this is not our plan. We are actively participating in the plan, and we do have some input and a little bit of influence. However, it is us adding to that which already exists. And because we aren't consciously aware at this time of who we are, many of us um, don't really understand what it takes for us to really learn, grow, and evolve. However, being open and surrendering to the flow, right? To the poetic flow of energy allows for us to have clearer sight and a deeper understanding of ourselves, right? My part of my mission is to reconnect you with yourself. And in reconnecting you with yourself, it will ignite or realign your connection to source. And it is my responsibility to activate this process through your heart space, right? Which is why I say that I am initiating or a part of the love revolution, because once we open our heart chakras to love for ourselves first, that frequency radiates outward. It is embedded in everything that we do. And that frequency of love will reconnect us to the essence of who we are, because we are loving on ourselves. We're loving on the hurt parts. We're loving on the wounded parts. We're loving on the misunderstood parts. We're loving on the outspoken, energetic, weirdo, all of the parts that make us up. We all have so many different components that cause us to be these very beautiful and unique aspects, expressions of the Most High that we are. And loving ourselves first and foremost removes the veil. It removes the cloud, the confusion, and causes us to be able to see ourselves through a clear lens, and not the lens that the world has given us, or the lens that the different experiences of our development have imprinted on us. And then we're able to recognize that the love that I give to myself is the love that the Most High, the Creator, the universe, my spirit team, my ancestors have been given to me my whole journey. So even when I felt like I was by myself and I was at my lowest point, I was never by myself. You know what I'm saying? I was always being held and supported because that divine love had always been flowing to me. And then we realize that we are an expression of that love, right? That we can embody that love and exude that love. And then we start to imprint it, and it's embedded in us, and it's imprinted on everything that we do, everything that we touch, everyone that we interact with. And then that energy is able to expand, and evolve and grow and reach heights that our human brain is unable to comprehend at this time. And that is the beautiful reward, right? That naturally comes from choosing yourself, choosing to love you, and not in a big I little you way. However, in alignment with universal truths, in alignment with nature, right? Self-preservation is the first law of nature. So I was taught. And with that being the case, it's like the same principle of like when you're on a plane, you got to put your mask on first and then you help others. It's like the same principle. However, all of that allows for the divine flow, right? It is what is allowed as the fuel to further the connection and the expression of power that is us, that's connected to the Most High. And in me expressing that, I'm thinking about like what that feels like, right? The power of that. So utilize your imagination to tap into what it would feel like to let your life become poetry in motion, right? What would it feel like if you allowed yourself to operate in a divine flow, trusting that everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen? Nothing was an accident. If you think about the most worst thing that you've done, the thing that you're most ashamed of or embarrassed of that you've done, if you look at it from the lens that it all happened for a reason and that you learned, you gained, you benefited, if only to have the experience, and then now you can take that experience and assist in supporting and holding space for others, then that right there is like the beauty of it, right? So you can celebrate it and you can experience what it feels like, right, to live a life in flow. We are at 28 minutes, and that is just so crazy how time has sped by like that. And I want to make sure that I stick to the 30 minutes. And if you have been coming, then you know that we're at the part where I'm going to share a poem. At this point, we're going to go a little bit over because this poem, I think, is going to take a little bit longer than the time that I have. However, I'm going to read the poem. But before I do, and then I'll close out. However, before I do, thank you so much for showing up for yourself, first and foremost. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being a part of my community, a part of my tribe. I have waited so long to connect with you all and to be of service. And it is an honor and a pleasure to be a part of your growth and development and to come into the awareness of who you are and living in your divine purpose. And I look forward to you being and doing all of the greatness that you came here for. So I want you to know I love you, I honor you, and I appreciate you. And today's poem is called A Prayer for Becoming. And we're going to do it over here. They say these poems aren't, excuse me, I'm going to start again. They say these aren't poems, they're prayers. And I'm inclined to agree. Each word I write is a journey inward, reteaching my inner child it's safe to freely speak. Hand in hand with the Most High, I weave my creativity, a divine gift cultivated within me. An ability to string words together, showing clearly they are tethered to my heart, bearing witness to the storms I've weathered and the boundless love I now treasure. Doubt and fear no longer belong here. I stand tall in my power, erect and unwavering, no longer neglecting my connection to the divine source, clear and pure, an unyielding force, accepting its guidance, direct and sure. I stand firm on the messages I hear, a vision given solely to me, An an A and B conversation so it's clear why others can't see. Think your doubts can reach the ethers? Not even possible when you're moving like Peter, learning from the lessons before me. I'm here to pursue my dreams, saying to the universe, look, there is no plan B. Can't, quit, or failure are in my vocabulary. Step by step, one foot in front of the other. I trust fully, knowing one day I'll bless my daughter. By my side, she stood as I found my way. When others left, she chose to stay. For that, I'm endlessly grateful. She believes in me, trusts in me, and knows whatever I set my mind to, I'll achieve. When blessings rain on me, you better believe she'll be drenched too. This path I walk, it's a combination of belief, intention, frequency, and trust. Sometimes it feels like I'm standing still, but in all actuality, I'm surrendering to the Most High's will. This alignment, this flow, is where my power grows. Everything I write about, I manifest in my reality. I speak these truths aloud, clearing space so the enemy can find clarity. The memories I've sought, the lessons I've learned, are woven together, a tapestry of grace, truth, and eternal love. I am the summer in my own winter, a beacon of light piercing through the darkness of night. I have arrived. Poem. It is my will that you received exactly what you needed in this space. I will that you felt held, loved, seen, and supported. And until the next time, family, love, light, and peace.